So, dear Dhamma practitioners, this is our ongoing meditation session. So, be comfortable yourself and relax your body and find a comfortable posture. So, once we get connected with the other network, we're ready to start the session for today. Okay, so dear Dhamma practitioners, be comfortable yourself and relax your body. Keep your back straight, neck head straight in one line and your right palm on your left. So gently close your eyes and bring attention to this bell sound. And while you're focusing to the sound, mentally relax your body, relax your mind and relax your breathing with your thoughts. So do nothing extra. Just follow the sound, please. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the blessed one, the exalted one, the fully enlightened one. So, dear Dhamma practitioners, before we start our practice session, as usual, we'll take few minutes to understand ourselves, how this practice can help for us to develop our inner awareness. So when it comes to our conventional life, we always heard the knowledge is the power. And then lack of knowledge means lack of power. So the power is very necessary. Power is not a bad thing. As ordinary people, we all need power. So that here, more than the physical, the mental power is the important thing. So why the mental power is important? Because the power gives you opportunity to take decisions. That's why. When you have mental power, when you have the knowledge, it takes you to understand things, and at the same time, it gives you ability to take decisions. So when you are capable to take decisions, what will happen? So you have to tune to the consciousness to take decisions. So that is how the knowledge and the power can link with the consciousness. So through meditation, you empower the ability to take conscious decision. And when it comes to that, we always have to understand there are two kinds of worlds. The one is conventional world. This all the things we perceive, these objects, time and space, and the things that we experience, this all belong to this conventional life. And the eternal life is what is the truth behind this all, and what is the ultimate truth, and what is the beyond, what is beyond our experience. That is eternal truth. So how this both can balance, how the wisdom can develop through this all. And understanding, it's a kind of like a knowledge, and it gives the power for you to take the decisions. And that decisions will decide your future, your next moment, your next becoming, next continuation. So when it comes to the very first thing that we have to understand, we have to accept this conventional life. One of the mistakes that we do, we most of time try to deny, reject, erase. Sometimes when it comes to emptiness even, that we try to see in a kind of like, oh, there is nothing. There is nothing exist, all empty. So if there's nothing exist, why we have to do this all? And how you can mention something as happiness or the suffering? And how you can mention something as Dharma? How you can mention somebody as Buddha? How you can mention someone as enlightened master? If this everything, nothing. So it's a kind of like a way of configuration, that the configuration means that we have to understand this, an arrangement of elements. That is what everywhere we see with always. It is one way of understanding when it comes to this conventional life. In a certain level, for a moment, sometimes we have to accept things as permanent for the moment. So as example, if we kind of like think it's everything empty. So if everything empty, how you name this as a cup? In that very moment, you have to hold it to some kind of permanent, some kind of solid name and form to name this as a cup. So like that, in the very first level, we have to understand this conventional life. We have to accept it. This acceptance will allow us to understand it. So otherwise, it is just not everything manifest in mind. In a certain, there are things we experience, but this is not going to be permanent. It always changes. And it always in a journey. So if I move from this place to somewhere, and I feel like that everything's solid, but still from this point to that point, when I move moment by moment, this everything, this configuration, the process that change, with all elements, even though it put together and became as me, inside this everything changed, and even this everything around us, even though we see kind of like a solid, everything moment by moment change. So seeing the object, accepting it as object, but still knowing it as a kind of like a permanent thing, still knowing that what you see always change, is one way of understanding emptiness. Seeing things and accepting things, but still knowingly it not going to be permanent. And itself, that whatever you experience, this outside things, is not going to be forever. Why? Because this all came out of the elements and it always changes. So while you seeing and knowing that is a part of the wisdom. So that is one thing. And from the ancient times, some people and just go with the outside world and they try to find the emptiness with the outside. There's a big argument about it. So, and another concept is that forget about the outside. Forget about the perception. You more focus to the inside. Let the outside to be. It is nothing to do with the outside. It is all your inside, in your mind. If your mind contaminate, what happens? Then that contamination with the greed, hatred, and the delusion is kind of like three poisoning. Then you can't get out of the conventional life. So the hold it to your mind and contaminate your mind is another way, is explained as conventional life. So then you don't look into the outside and you go inside and try to clean your own mind. And you work with the mind and get the mental clarity and gain the liberation. So that is one way of that understanding about the liberation. So then there are two ways. One is that we have to accept the perception, but still we should know it is impermanent. And other one is, forget about that. We all focus to our mind and we purify our mind and get out of the greed, hatred, and the delusion. And then we come to the purity. And that will bring the liberation. So this both, they have huge arguments from the history. And the one is called the Sankhya or the Madhyamika, or the way of explaining. Another one is the Sankhya and the Madhyamika. So somehow you have to remember not to hold it to the outside world, or not to just believe that everything in your mind. Because everything in your mind, how I hold this and what I feel, and how this outside world help for me to maintain my life. So then we have to understand the both. So the one is that you have to know there is outside world, and you have to accept that. Acceptance bring the ability for you to be more humble and be more very careful and observe and recognize, and that will help you to bring the ability to see things as it is. Because if you don't accept, there is something not exist. What do you mean by seeing things as it is? So this is what happened. When you accept there is something, this acceptance bring the openness for your mind to see and understand it. So that openness bring the ability to see it as it is, because now you know there is such a thing exists, and now you have the effort to understand it as it is. Otherwise, if you believe, oh, there is nothing, it's only the mind, how are you going to see things as it is? So that is one thing. And there is a huge, it's a 50%, the condition of your mind effect, but at the same time, the 50% that your outside object also help. Because when it comes to your eye consciousness, how the eye consciousness happen, it is not just by the mind and the eye organ. You need the eye object. When the eye object and the eye, the both together bring the eye consciousness. So the ear, and then they are something that from the outside world. Listen this very carefully. It is very important for you to understand. There should be an outside sound. And when that sound comes to your ear, that touch bring the ear consciousness. The nose, the same. So then, when you experience something, are you really thought there is something exists outside? That is the key point, because sometimes we neglect that. When we experience something, if you know there is something exists outside, that whatever exists help for you to have this experience, then you become more careful. You become more disciplined. Then you know it's not just only you. Then you become more humble. You become more mindful. Why? Because your experience comes as a result of something that you gain from outside. So this understanding bring a foundation for you to observe. So even when it comes to inhalation, exhalation, if you know there is something as inhalation or exhalation exists beyond your mind, then you start to look into that. So that's why then you have to be in the middle, not to go into the extreme level. You have to be in the middle and understand that when it comes to our environment, our life, that when things go wrong sometimes, it is just not only your mind, and there are maybe exactly something that outside, maybe you have to work with that. And that is where you more recognize the cause and effect. So that is one thing. But most of the time when it comes to our spiritual practice, we neglect that. But when it comes to the Buddha's teaching, it always, that's why that the truth, two kind of truths, that the conventional truth and the eternal. So then the base should be your conventional truth. You have to accept things. You have to go with things. And that is where you become more mindful to deal with things. And that is where you become more open. And that is where you recognize that sometimes you have to adapt according to the certain situation, rather than just hold it to egocentric, self-centered mind, believing, oh, everything my mind, everything me, I can do whatever I want. We can't do whatever we want. because there are certain things exist which we have no ability to deal with that. So once you accept that, you are capable to little bit step back. And when it comes to the people, we have to accept that there is a person like that, exists separately. And that person not going to do things according to the way I want, because there is a separate person. If you don't accept that, what will happen? You always going to get hurt, and you always going to get into trouble, and you always going to overtake, and you always going to fight with people. Why? Because you think, oh, everybody should do the way I want. People don't do that. They are different. And even when it comes to the life, and we all have hopes and the desires with the very conventional life. And then what will happen? We think, oh, when we think something, oh, it should happen. Why? Because I thought about it. Oh, my wish should happen. Why? Because I do all the good things, and then it should happen for me. That's how we think. Oh, I don't do any wrong, because of that, the world should be nice for me. It's not going to happen. Because everything has its own way. So once you know that, you slowly step back a little bit. You find a gap in between you and the things, and you able to more observe and recognize. So that is ability. That is what that you bring as a knowledge to yourself, because you are more capable to accept there is something. So to get into that is one part, and the get into that, and while you observing, interfering, engaging with the outside, then other part is that the vipassana knowledge means that you should know it is just not only the environment or the outside or the condition of the perception or the condition of the object, and it's all depend on the condition of the mind also, observer or the perceiver also. So then in the very first level, in the tranquility level, you recognize and accept there is something outside, but at the same time, when you engage, you become more mindful with the subject or the experiencer. And so that is a kind of like building up a bridge, creating a path, harmonizing, rather than separate things and integrate. So, and while you experiencing, and you observe the condition of the experiencer, and while you seeing things, while you hearing things, and at the same time, not later or not before, at the same time, you observe the condition of the perceiver. To do that, you have to have a sharp and clear mind. And once you have that ability to see the outside object and the inside the perceiver, and the condition of the both, and accepting there is something outside, and bringing the clarity to yourself also, because when it comes to ourself, our mind, the very behavior, the very nature, how the mind get polluted, contaminate, because of the previous experience or the past habits or our mental views or the emotions. So then, while you experience something, while you accepting there is something, at the same time, you have to bring the purification to your mind also. So that is an ability that you gain. And that is a high skill mental power that you gain. So through the meditation, we develop that. So we develop that, but remember, there are some people, they can start it from the inside their mind and come to outside. And there are some people, they can just go with the outside first and then they go to the inside. But there are some people, not all the people, there are some people, they can do this both together. While experiencing outside and know there is a completely separate object, it is not permanent, but there is something. And at the same time, know this experience and the condition of the mind and observing and bring the clarity and taking out the three poisons, greed, hatred, and the delusion, and purifying, and at the same time, you experience. And without getting into, without attached to, without clinging to the experience. So when you are capable to have that kind of lifestyle, then you experience things, but you're not going to get attached to that. So when you accept something outside, what happens? That way also bring the detachment, because you really know there is something exists, not belong to you. There's a sutta called Tummahaka Sutta. Start looking to yourself around you and see, is there anything belong to you? There's nothing. That everything belongs to something. And if it is belong to something, remember, don't hold it to it. Don't try to mesmerize yourself. Oh, this is mine. This is mine. This is mine. It's not yours. It's somebody else. And this, all the materials, even the people, your husband, wife, children, parents, friends and family, neighbors, it's not yours. On the way you found them. But remember, it's not going to be yours. So that way, it brings the detachment. That is the truth. So in that conventional life, then you still make it more comfortable. You accept something. Another thing is, when you purify, the next level, when you purify with your greed, hatred, and the delusion, and that way also, you yourself, you're not going to hold it to what you experience, not the outside. Because we mostly hold it to our inner feelings, emotions, our sensation, not the outside. So when you get out of the greed, hatred, and the delusion, those are kind of like a stimulate, ignite your emotions or the feelings or desires or that kind of things. And so once you release from that, and that also help you to detach. So we have to work this both way. One way is not enough. So bring the ability to detach from the both ways and at the same time deal with the both outside world with the inside mind. So don't neglect one part. So in the tranquility meditation and the vipassana meditation, bringing this both abilities, see things as it is, and at the same time how things come to be as they are, and at the same time purify your mind and get out of the greed, hatred, and the delusion. So that three-way of experience and bring the ability to stay untouched and stay without getting tangled. And that is where you gain deeper total freedom. It's a moment by moment process. So then try to understand yourself, and don't put it to any limits. Don't categorize, and don't try to hold it to certain views. Even we practice meditation, and remember, with the outside and with the inside in the both way, and find the freedom. So with that, let's get into practice a little bit now. So your right palm on your left and neck head straight in one line, and be comfortable with your posture. So bring attention to your body and scan head to toes yourself and say Sopat Veva, or may I be well and happy 3 times. Take a moment and think. We gathered here in this moment to practice this ancient meditation technique. All the Buddhas, all the enlightened masters followed this path and achieved wisdom. So we also gathered here to accumulate that knowledge. In this moment, with this sitting, may my body become more comfortable. May my breath be more smooth. May no difficulties come to me. May all the success come to me. Also think for a moment, this is the last moment we're spending in this very lifetime. And detach your mind from all your past memories and as well as any kind of future thoughts. Just try to remain in the present moment, observing the sensation of your inhalations and exhalations. And while you're observing, remember to see the sensation, and at the same time, be aware about the condition of your mind. So in the beginning, deeply and gently, breathe in, breathe out 3 times, please. And allow your inhalations, exhalations happen itself. Just recognize it through the sensation. Do nothing extra. Bring your attention to your body, please. Observe your posture. We cultivate loving kindness and compassion in our heart and radiate it as a light through entire your compound, village, city, state, country, world, around this universe. Also as far as you can through galaxies, other planets, stars. Reminding yourself like this. With clear intention, mentally repeat after me. May all living beings in this universe be well and happy. May everyone be happy and safe, and may their hearts be filled with joy. May all living beings live in security and in peace. Beings who are frail or strong, tall or short, big or small, visible or not visible, near or far away, already born or yet to be born. May all of them dwell in perfect tranquility. Let no one do harm to anyone. Let no one put the life of anyone in danger. Let no one out of anger or ill will wish anyone any harm. Expand the loving kindness and compassion beginning from your heart, forward. Visualize yourself and send it as a light. To your backside, to your left side, and to your right side. Downward, and upward. To all six directions at once, like the moon, the sun, spread the light, spread the energy, without any condition, without any limitation, without any resistance, or without any judgment. Let your heart to shine with the loving kindness and compassion from the bottom of it, with the maximum effort to the highest, wishing yourself, may all living beings in this universe be well and happy. Say sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So first of all, we offer this practice to the great qualities of the Buddha, Dhamma and the Sangha. And also by the power of this meritorious deed, may all of us attain to the supreme bliss of Nibbana. May all your guardian angels and deities will receive these merits and increase their longevity and protect all of you from any kind of planetary influences or any ill effects. Ittavata chamni sampadam punya sampadam sabbe deva numodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Sabbe bhuta numodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Sabbe satta numodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Imaya dhammanu dhamma patipattiya buddham pujemi dhammam pujemi sangham pujemi. Addaya imaya patipattiya jati jara vyadhi maranam ha paribunjissami. Idamme punya kammang asavakkaya vahang hotu sabba dukkha pamuncatu. Bless you.